What's going on, fight fans? This is Capital Combat. The name says it all. I'm Rob Jarrell, and this is my recap to Saturday's World Boxing Super Series. I always get that messed up. World Boxing Super Series, junior welterweight tilt, featuring Ivan Baranchyk out of Belarus taking on Anthony Yigit out of Sweden, and also Regis Prograis, the hometown kid, as the fight took place in New Orleans against the tough British fighter Terry Flanagan. So I'm going to start off with the first match between Baranchyk and Yigit, and what we got was a very entertaining, high-action fight that saw Ivan Baranchyk, Ivan the Beast Baranchyk, take a 7-round knockout, TKO victory over Anthony Yigit. This was a very interesting fight. Baranchyk came into the fight at 18-0, and he only had 11 KOs that was listed, but I would have suspected more. And he took on Anthony Yigit, who was 22-1 with only about 7 KOs. So you kind of wondered, would either guy have the power or the pressure to take the other one out, if not outbox over the course of 12 rounds. And I actually want to double check one thing. I do want to check Ivan Barancyk's number because KO ratio, because I did have it written down, but sometimes the way that someone fights doesn't always match up. So, but Ivan Baranchyk, who is coached by Pedro Diaz, really came out and he put on a clinic, almost a clinic on how you as an orthodox fighter should fight a southpaw in Anthony Yigit. While we know that Ivan brought tons of pressure, very hard hitting, and he has loads of amateur experience, what I saw and what you might have noticed was his ability to be in position and constantly having his lead foot on the outside of Anthony Yigit. Anthony Yigit, I thought he would opt to box and make Baranchyk miss, because Baranchyk was a buzzsaw. He just kept coming the whole night. But in doing so, you always saw Baranchyk sort of use the jab to kind of measure and work his way in just a little bit. But he always stepped in, and he landed that right hand constantly in exchanges and from the outside and stepping into his wheelhouse. And you could tell because Yigit's eye was completely closed by the time by the end of the 7th round. But he always had his right hand in line. And Baranchyk didn't just go headhunting. He actually worked the body very well. And he always seemed to accent every punch, every ending punch, whether it was of the body and ending with the right upstairs. And in exchanges, he normally got the best because Yigit really didn't have the power to truly hurt Baranchyk. Now, Yigit did. He opted to fight instead of cycling the ring. He wanted to get his points and not make it look like he was retreating the whole night. But he just didn't have the firepower and the power to take out Baranchyk. Baranchyk was doing little dirty stuff here and there. He hit on the break. He held Yigit's head down. All sorts of things. He got plenty of warnings. And also, he loaded up on a lot of punches, which Yigit would made him miss. But because Yigit was more offensive than defensive, kind of ducking under those shots, he always put himself in danger. And like I said, Baranchyk went to the body very well. The first 2 rounds, you could see Baranchyk was really taking advantage of, but Yigit showed a lot of grit, a lot of tenaciousness, and kept fighting. And then you kind of wondered after about the 4th round how much longer this fight could go. I gave Yigit I want to say the 5th round. I gave him maybe 2 rounds. The 5th was, I think, his best round. But Baranchyk just landed more. He was much sharper with his power punches. But Yigit, at times when Baranchyk had that high guard, he really did get off. But I don't think he hit Baranchyk anything of consequence. He lost a point in the 7th, I believe the 7th round, 6th or 7th round. And rightfully so, because he did have several fouls, which he was warned for, in which warranted the point deduction. But it didn't matter because Baranchyk had really beaten Yigit's left eye into submission. And Yigit, while he was taking those shots well, and he did get hurt several times and recovered pretty well throughout the fight, he really just didn't have the firepower. He really couldn't see out of the eye because the more he fought, the more that right hand started to find a home. So both guys showed a lot of mettle, especially Anthony Yigit. I want to say this was his biggest competition to date, as Baranchyk did see Peter Petrov, Keenan Smith, and a few other up-and-coming fighters, while Yigit, being out of Sweden, his best win was probably some dude named Philip Sutliff and DeMarcus Corley. And I'm sorry, he didn't have one loss. He had a draw early in his career. So moving on to the next one, we had Ivan Baranchyk took home the vacant IBF title with his win. Now moving on, Regis Prograis, Rougarou. If you don't know, that's his nickname, and Rougarou is the New Orleans Werewolf. Took on a very tough Terry Flanagan, who has been around the block. Regis Prograis was 22-0 with 19 KOs, and is one of the favorites to win the World Boxing Super Series, along with Josh Taylor and Ivan Baranchyk. And I would say after that would be a Kirill Relic, who recently beat Edward Troyanowski in a 12-round decision. But that's neither here nor there. Terry Flanagan would have brought a undefeated record into this fight against Prograis, who has looked pretty great in all of his fights. He took out Julius Indongo, Joel Diaz Jr., and really he has looked to be about as good a prospect as anyone has looked in the 140-pound division. And he took on Terry Flanagan, who had recently lost his belt to Maurice Hooker. But other than that, he's had some great wins, and he was undefeated before the Maurice Hooker fight, if I'm not mistaken. He also fought Peter Petrov, Derry Matthews, Diego Magdaleno, Jose Zepeda. So he's had some good quality wins, but he really hadn't fought the best of the best. And like I said, he lost to Maurice Hooker over the course of 12 rounds, I believe. And this was for the interim WBC title, which Jose Ramirez currently has. And this fight was more so about Regis Prograis' patience, his ability to utilize the jab, and ability to go to the body. Terry Flanagan, again, been around the block, very tough guy. I don't think he had ever been down in a fight, but he went down in this fight versus Prograis. And Prograis is not the fastest, but he's much more athletic. He's much faster, much sharper, much more patient. He has quite a bit of pop on his punches. And Terry Flanagan, again, is a guy who opts to outbox you, but he doesn't have a lot of KOs. He has 13 KOs. And he really showed a lot of mettle, but I just think Prograis' talent, his patience, and his ability to put all his punches where he wanted to and remaining aggressive throughout the fight really carried him through the fight. And like I said, he knocked Terry Flanagan down, I want to say the 7th or the 8th. I'm sorry. I'm trying to go off the top of my mind. I did watch it on the Zone last night. But I was very impressed with Regis Prograis. Right now, I can't see anyone putting enough hands on him to really take him out, except maybe Josh Taylor, and that's going to be one hell of a fight. And he's probably the physically strongest in the tournament, along with Ivan Baranchyk. But yeah, he was able to encroach on his space and really put together the punches that he wanted to put together. He wasn't pushed, and he didn't allow Terry Flanagan to dictate the fight and move around where Terry Flanagan would want to be in his spots. He did a good job not being hit with anything flush. I think he was hit once late in the fight, and I don't know if he was hurt and played it off or he was just playing around because he moved really slowly after that. But it didn't seem like something that was of true consequence through this fight. So other than that, I don't have much for you guys. We really were treated to a good night of fights with the World Boxing Super Series Season 2 for the Junior Welterweight division. And I'm sorry, I normally do a preview for these fights because I try to keep up with them. That's my fault. I'll try to cover the next ones properly. And hopefully you all watched the Danny Jacobs versus Sergey Derevyanchenko fight last night as well. That was on HBO's final broadcast. If you haven't, check out Hakeem's preview to that fight and to that card. And stay tuned for the recap for that fight as well. If you have any questions, just let me know. Put it down in the comment section below. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Google+, Twitter, all Capital Combat. And keep it respectful to y'all. Keep it respectful to us. And until next time, fight on.
This is round one, and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming.